In this dangerous war involving Iran, do you know what Iran's biggest weapon is? No, it's not an atomic bomb. In this war, Iran's biggest weapon is the Strait of Hormuz. If you look at the map, Iran is located near a narrow sea passage. At first glance, it looks like a small waterway, but in reality it is extremely important. This narrow route is one of the most important points for the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz is a major international shipping route for oil and gas. Around this small waterway are several countries that produce some of the largest amounts of oil in the world. About 20% of the world's oil supply is transported through this route. Countries such as Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia are located around this area. These countries produce huge amounts of oil, and that oil passes through this narrow sea route before reaching the rest of the world. Because of this oil, many of these countries have become some of the richest nations on earth. Every day, more than 20 million barrels of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That means trillions of dollars of global trade move through this small waterway every year. In simple words, this route is extremely important for the world economy. But there is one major problem. The passage becomes extremely narrow at one point, and every ship must pass through this tight channel. The width of this route is only about 40 kilometers, and for decades Iran has had significant control over this strategic area. This is the same route through which the petrol used in your cars and motorcycles travels across the world. Iran has always known how important this route is. That is why, even before the war began, Iran repeatedly warned the United States that if they attacked Iran, the Strait of Hormuz could be closed. However, despite these warnings, the United States and Israel launched attacks on Iran. As the conflict escalated, hundreds of fighter jets were reportedly deployed, and heavy military strikes followed. In response, Iran began firing missiles toward Israeli cities and attacking American military bases. After losing its supreme leader Ali Khamenei, Iran responded strongly and began using its most powerful strategic weapon, the Strait of Hormuz. Suddenly, large oil tankers passing through the strait began receiving radio messages from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. The message warned that from now on, no ship would be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Any vessel attempting to cross would face military action. After this announcement, many ships left the area and several oil tankers became stuck near the strait, carrying millions of barrels of oil. As a result, many countries began facing potential shortages of oil and gas. Global markets started reacting, and economies around the world felt the pressure. Major economies such as India, China, and Japan could also be affected because they rely heavily on oil shipments from this route. Oil prices started rising in different regions, including parts of Europe and Nigeria, causing economic pressure on many governments and consumers. There are also claims that Iran has placed naval mines in parts of the strait. If ships attempt to pass without permission, those mines could potentially damage or destroy them. Some ships that tried to cross reportedly faced attacks or warnings. Iran also reportedly made an offer to the international community. Any country that wants to use the Strait of Hormuz must take political actions against the United States and Israel. However, this is not the first time oil has been used as a geopolitical weapon. Around 50 years ago, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia used oil policy during the 1973 oil crisis to pressure Western countries during the Middle East conflict. Today, the situation again shows how powerful control over energy routes can be. There are now two possible outcomes. The first possibility is that Iran continues keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed for a long period. If that happens, the global economy could weaken significantly, forcing world powers to push for an end to the war. The second possibility is more dangerous. Some analysts believe that if the strait remains closed, it could become a reason for a much larger military escalation. Political leaders such as Donald Trump have also warned that if the strait remains blocked, stronger military action could follow. At the same time, Iran's leadership has declared that the conflict will continue until it takes revenge for the deaths caused during the war. Iran has stated clearly that it will not surrender, and that the struggle will continue.